in support of Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development, item number 1, cannabis cultivation in residential areas.
Sure, I'll just give her a few minutes to set up. Good afternoon, and also thank you for your patience in waiting to present. While you're setting up, I'll just offer congratulations on your re-election. And I can't recall if you've presented before here in a formal, for a formal meeting, so welcome.
First time, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be here, Mayor Bowman, councillors. It's very much looking forward to this and to meeting you all in person and to presenting on behalf of the people that I represent on this critical issue. I do want to thank the Winnipeg Public Service for all of their hard work and their diligence on this as well. I know it's a very complex issue, and with the lack of leadership from the federal government, I really appreciate the Public Service and Council trying to fill the gaps to address the concerns, the very serious concerns of the folks that we all represent. And I also want to thank very deeply and sincerely the grassroots members, which we all know we depend on them to raise the alarm on issues that impact our community. So thank you very much for all those at home who are watching for your hard work. And before I really begin, I do want to recognize that medical cannabis can be grown safely for personal needs. But there is a loophole at the federal level that is being exploited, and not only in Winnipeg and surrounding areas, but across Canada. We have seen this issue grow to such a point, so to speak, that in Alberta, Ontario, and in Quebec, it has been busted and linked to organized crime related to gun smuggling, hard drug smuggling, and human trafficking. There are some areas in southern Ontario that have been busted with well over 100,000 plants under the guise of personal medical use. So this is not just a problem in Manitoba, it is even much more severe outside. And my concern is that locally it may be linked to organized crime. And I think that is an area of concern that we all have. And I have met with our provincial counterparts as well as other provinces and areas of jurisdiction. And it is jointly shared with everyone that this concern is linked to organized crime here in Manitoba and elsewhere. We know that police resources are strapped, the meth issues and the opioid issues, human trafficking issues and the like take up a lot of their time. We know this, but in my meetings with them, in the same with Ontario Police, they are seized with this issue as well and quite frustrated that they're essentially handcuffed, so to speak, of addressing this issue. And at the federal level, I do co-chair the working group on this matter. There are over 30 Conservative MPs across Canada in every single province that are impacted by this issue. I'm certain there are other parties who have MPs who are impacted as well, but we have been moving forward to lobby the federal government, bring this issue to attention in question period with media, writing letters to the Minister of Health. The issue does lie in a regulatory problem and loophole with Health Canada that should be easily addressed from our perspective and has not been. So again, I applaud the efforts that you've done so far to fill those gaps. And I would say that I have found with constituents, we don't often think of this as an issue. If I put it on a mailer or what have you, unless it impacts you directly, it's not necessarily something you think about. Like, what is this issue about? And then you wake up one morning and you have your beautiful home that you're counting on for your retirement savings. Perhaps you have children or grandchildren with you, and you wake up one morning and there's a grow up next door with 1,000 plants. And when they are harvesting those plants, there is weeks and months of lingering odor. And this is not just recreational or perhaps small, minimal medicinal use, a puff of smoke in the backyard. This is a lingering odor that is consistent and goes on for weeks and induces headaches. You cannot open a window. You cannot be in your backyard. It is extremely serious. And I applaud Councillor Sharma for her work of assembling a town hall last summer. We heard heartbreaking stories from folks. There were elderly residents, for example, one individual, his wife is not well and probably not long for this world. She can't go in her backyard. She can't open a window. Their quality of life has greatly been impacted by this, and there's nothing they can do about it. There's issues with folks who have dried their children's clothes outside on the back line, and imagine the smell of being of your children's clothes, being next to a large-scale medical cannabis grow-op. And residents are extremely frustrated. They call the police. Of course, police come. They could count the plants, look at the license. Yep, everything's in order. They can ask them to please ventilate a little bit more, but that's about it. So it's quite frustrating for residents, as you can imagine. So there is that property value concern. Imagine turning a beautiful 2,000 square foot bungalow into a greenhouse. What happens to that? Well, the home is utterly destroyed, impacting its property value and all the property values of the surrounding homes. And then try selling your home when you're surrounded by medical cannabis grow-ups with thousands of plants. So it's a great concern there as well. I mentioned the impact on security across the country and connected to organized crime. I've heard from mothers in particular very concerned about going to sleep at night knowing that this is going on. We're talking about millions of dollars of plants and equipment. So there's not a lot of security, not a lot of feelings of being very secure. There have been break-ins related to this. One residents have said to me that there was a break-in where the criminals thought that it was the grow-up next door. So they have reason to be concerned about this. And I would also, just in sum to say that the odor, the light pollution, the peculiar comings and goings, big trucks rolling up, massive garbage bags filled with something being loaded up on a regular, consistent basis, similar cars at these homes, the light pollution, similar security systems, similar realtors connected to the sales of these homes. It started with one, it's over 24 now in the Garden City area. It is also North Kildonan. It is now most recently in East St. Paul and West St. Paul. So this is a growing problem, so to speak. And I take it very seriously, as we do at the federal level in our party. And so I will just applaud you for the work that you've done so far. I urge you to take the recommendations and pass them. And I have consulted across the country, and I can confidently tell you that you would be leaders in municipalities across the country. You would build a model that municipalities across the country could look to. So all the work that you've done, I think it's very exciting. It is a relief for residents, and I urge you to take action on this. And thank you again for having me, and I'm very happy to address any questions you may have.
Councillor Mays.
Thank you for coming. It's rare to get, I think we've had Terry Duguid here over the years. We've had Kathy
thanks.
Cox, possibly when she was nominated, but not yet a member. So, and I don't think they waited 4 hours. So thank you for doing that. Any concerns about what's being proposed? Councillor Sharma has put a lot of work in. Edie's put a lot of work in. I know over the years, I think Councillor Luke's maybe, but certainly Debbie and Ross have raised this a number of times. Anything you would say we're missing, or any shortcomings or concerns with what's being proposed?
I think you've put forward a very strong first step. I think that there's a lot that we can build on for this. Particularly, we know that in the recommendations to limit anyone who's growing for other people to grow in an industrial area rather than a residential area, that's excellent. I think that'll help the issue, won't solve the issue, but it will help the issue for sure. You can grow under Health Canada regulations. You can grow up to 4 licenses per household. So just having perhaps 1 or 2 licenses, you could assume though that a household full of 10 people could each have a license, of course, but you can only grow a maximum of 4. And you can only grow a maximum of 4 for other people. So this will help. I predict that folks will find any way around this that they can, but I think this is a very strong step forward. And again, from the research that we've done and over the 1.5 years of consultations I've done on this across the country, you would be leaders on this. I think it is a very strong step forward, for sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Gillingham.
Good. Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for coming. It's really good to see you, Mr. Ancho, and yes, congratulations on your re-election, and thank you for being here. We don't often have a member of parliament with us, so it's
My
good
honor.
to have you. And to see how kind of levels of government and representatives from different levels of government kind of work in tandem to try to address the needs and concerns of residents. At a federal level, you talked about your lobbying, obviously, the federal government to make changes to the Health Canada legislation and act to accommodate this. Just, I guess, where is it at with your committee? At what stage is it at? Is there more work you have to do to continue this next step to kind of appeal to the current federal government to make the changes? Just where is it at as far as any changes that could come across Canada that would make a difference for us in Winnipeg and address some of what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so I suppose there's 3 points I could make. One, we are patiently waiting for the Prime Minister to resume Parliament. Of course, it's November 22nd, so we're looking forward to that. It's a long time coming since our last session ended in the House rose in June. So we do have work to do on this. We are proud of the work that we've done thus far. Question period letters to the Minister. It ultimately resulted in a national consultation from the Minister of Health on this issue. So I submitted on behalf of the residents concerned in my community, their concerns in a letter, a lengthy letter to the Minister of Health. So we're very glad to participate in that. We are patiently awaiting any report or recommendations. We have not received clarity of exactly what they will be releasing or if they're even releasing it publicly. So we have quite a bit of work to do to hold them accountable in question period, and I do hope we have the opportunity to do so at our federal standing committees as well. What I would say, though, it does seem to me that it would be a fairly easy solution at the federal level, or perhaps not easy, but simple. The problem lies, as you probably know, if you can have a doctor prescribe to you that you need 100 grams per day, which apparently, from my understanding of talking to the College of Physicians and Surgeons in the province of Manitoba, a standard use could be maybe up to 5 a day. But there are doctors in this country that are prescribing 100 a day. And then that corresponds to the license you receive and the number of plants to grow from Health Canada. So that's where the loophole is being exploited. There really is no limit. And when I was consulting with Dr. Ripstein, the head of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, of Manitoba, he said that really it's so new, the legalization of marijuana on both sides, medical and recreational, that they don't have the science to say exactly how much medical use would be. But frankly, the residents of my riding cannot wait 20 years for the science to catch up. So we need to set standards, a regulatory standard to say this is the amount that's appropriate to be prescribed for medical use per day. And that in itself would stop this issue or resolve this issue in many ways. But again, the recommendations in the report, I think, are a very strong step forward. And I very much hope that you pass them.
Thank you very much. My follow-up then, if we do indeed adopt this as a council, would it be something you would be kind of citing or submitting in your future discussions at a federal level?
Absolutely. We will be connecting as soon as we know how this is going to go. We will be connecting with the 30 colleagues across the country to say, look at this news. And again, you will, I think, be one of the first from my research in the country. So really setting a standard there. It's quite exciting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just also want to acknowledge the work of my council colleague. Councillor Eady, who is here, has been trying to get this addressed, and the public service, I think, has done some great work. And my assessment is like yours, that that this would be leading in the country. One of the great things about City Hall is when people come on the floor of this chamber, the partisanship just is generally reduced. I'm just talking about our colleagues here. We have Councillor Eady, who just appeared, card-carrying NDP, from what I understand,
Sure.
and a Conservative member of Parliament seemingly on the same page. Can we expect to see this level of collaboration and unanimity with the NDP and the Liberals in the House of Commons when you return?
I don't know about that, Mayor Bowman, but I appreciate the optimism. But we will see. I'm happy to work with any party willing to address this issue. But to date, the Liberal government has failed to do so, unfortunately.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, I should